Hello everyone. Thanks for taking time to join this meeting session. My name is Reddy Venumbaka. I work in SAP HANA Product Marketing Group. Some of the slides are a little more dense and some of them are a little more simple, but overall the idea for this session is to talk about deployment choices and considerations. We go a little bit more into details, but we begin with what is HANA, why is it such a big deal? If it is a big deal, then we go into step by step. Before we start, I have a quick question. How many of you know databases? Okay. And how many of you know HANA? Okay. Many of them. Okay. Do you know why HANA is better than current databases?
In memory speed?
Okay. That's anything else? That's right. Yeah. Okay. Then I think it's a good start with the introduction slide. This is the agenda. We talk about what's HANA platform. I'll go a little bit into HANA Express, which is a free edition. What is in there? How can you get started if you want to? And then we talk about deployment options and delivery models. Then a little bit about entry-level servers. If you want to go production with entry level, there are some configurations we can use, and some cost-optimized non-productive systems. And then I'll go a little bit on when to use scale up and scale out. What are the choices when you want to go HADR, right? And then wrap up is more of summary and links on how to get more information on. Before we go into HANA platform, what is in it? The rationale why SAP had to create one more database when you already have databases such as Oracle, Microsoft, IBM DB2, MySQL, there are many of them. Why SAP had to create one more? As you know, SAP is a ERP company. Before we started with this HANA journey, the major problem we found is when you do transactions in one system, you can't get really deep insights, deep analytics out of the same system. So what you had to do is move the data into next system and then get reports out of it. The problem there is you get data reports very fast, but you only get high-level summaries. You can't get the details there. Another problem is you only get data based on what you have from yesterday, right? So these are the second problems. Then if you want to do predictive or some kind of advanced analytics, you have to have another system, right? But the fact is all three systems, they use same database in most of the cases, slightly configured differently, right? The problem is if you do that, you have same data copied multiple times, right? You never get real-time analytics. And if you want to do advanced analytics such as predictive, if you know predictive, the predictions you can get is actually based on the content you have in the system, right? If you only have a small subset, you only get a level of prediction which is not so accurate. But if you can do prediction on entire data in your transactional system, your predictions are way better. So that's why we came up with an in-memory database, and we call it HANA. And this is the slide that talks about what is inside HANA. It's a one platform, right? It's because we have 4 boxes here. We don't have 4 systems, right? It's one platform, right? It can do both transactions and analytics using single copy of data. It is very important, the single copy of data, because only when you have single copy of data, you can get analytics in real time, on real-time transactional data. You can get predictions based on entire transactional data. So the fact is we only use one copy of data. It's also efficient, right? You don't have to have so much memory. You don't have to have so much disk if you only keep one copy of data, right? There is always the people who know HANA and other databases, there's always a discussion, okay, it's in memory, it's expensive, right? If you think about it, in old way of doing things, you have 3 copies of data, 3 systems, 3 memories you keep, right, on disk and maintenance effort, yet you don't get real-time analytics, you can't get proper predictions, right? With HANA, actually, it's much less expensive if you add all of them. But if you take one system, right, one transaction system, and compare with HANA, of course, it looks expensive. You need to add all 3 because you can do all 3 with HANA in one box. That's the most important thing. We use in-memory columnar store. Why did we choose in-memory columnar store? In-memory is possible now. It was not possible before because you have systems with large addressable memory, right? It's only increasing and the cost is only going down for memory. Why columnar? Why can't we use row, right? We found that when you want to do analytics, it's much better with columnar, but our columnar store is designed in a way that it can also handle transactions. Okay? For the folks who say, okay, row store is the right way for transactions, not the columnar store, we run our ERP on columnar store. It works well. So it is proven that our columnar store can do both ACID compliant transactions and real-time analytics all in memory, right? Some people ask, okay, I keep all data in memory, what happens if power goes off? Okay, we use logs in disk. Whenever we do transaction commits, ACID compliant, it automatically writes into the disk. If you have a secondary system, we go a little bit more deep, it also writes there and commits when you do the commits. And we also, another question we get, what happens if you can't fit all the data in memory, right? There is only so much you could get in memory. What happens if it exceeds? What happens technically is systems don't go down. What happens is the data gets pushed down to the disk and system will continue to run. So this is the in-memory columnar OLTP plus OLAP database. That's the key. It's multi-tenant. It's multi-tenant enabled. That means you can actually assign CPUs, memory, and system resources to each tenant. So one tenant won't take away all the resources. It's multi-tenant capable, and it's multi-tier storage. That means if you know that there is some data you need in your system, right, but you don't use every day frequently. So what you can do is you can define tables that stays only in the disk, not in memory, but only in the disk. Okay, the big difference is you are not duplicating data between disk and memory. It's either in the disk or in the memory. With the new HANA 2 release, we have this multi-store capability which allows you to partition data in single table that stays in memory as well as in the disk. It's not the same data that's duplicated, but it's actually you can define what data stays in memory, what data stays in the disk. We have advanced modeling capabilities. We ask customers to use HANA and write your logic in the database as much as possible. Why? Because we have advanced tools to build the logic quickly, and also it is better if you don't move data out of the system when you are doing compute. Traditional way is you move the data from your database into an app server and run it there. Now you want to do more in the data. We want you to do more in the database because you can get much more performance. We have SQL scripts that allows you to write complex store procedures. We have a lot more capabilities that allows you to do coding inside the database, logic inside the database. It's open, it's a standard RDBMS, it's SQL, it's not a proprietary software. There is a myth that HANA is for SAP applications. Not true. It's a standard RDBMS you can run for any application. You can port any applications into HANA as long as they follow SQL standards. We use JDBC, ODBC, you can connect with it. It's a standard system, right? When you talk about processing, this is what you get in a traditional database, right? In addition to those, we have processing capabilities. We have advanced processing such as predictive, spatial, graph, text analytics. You can do natural language processing too. You give a text, it can tell you if the sentiment is positive or negative, right? We can do it in 32 languages. It's very powerful. We can do streaming. These days, you see Kafka and streaming engines. We have that baked into HANA. That's the processing cables. The important thing is the same copy of data you have for transactions and analytics, you also use it for advanced analytics, right? In the same system. In addition, we have App Server. App Server it's like your web server where you can run your HTML. In addition, we also support Java, JavaScript, C++, runtime, Node.js. It's because it's based on Cloud Foundry there. We have integrated tools for lifecycle management. Fury is our UI framework that allows you to build beautiful UIs. When it comes to integration quality, one thing is in HANA, we also have some ETL capabilities, right? One way is, you have data in other systems, you don't want to move data into HANA, then what you can do is you can connect that external system and you can see those tables as virtual tables inside HANA and query. That's the data virtualization. If you decide not to move data into HANA but connect the data, you can do that. The advantage is because they all are visualized as virtual local tables, you can do joins and SQL inside the SQL. So it's really cool. But the problem then is, of course, it's a little slow because it needs to figure out where the data is. You need to run where data exists. Next one is ELT and replication. Okay, many of you, I assume you know what ETL is, right? You have a system which takes data in, which transforms and loads inside another database. What we have in HANA is an ETL tool that can actually, it's ELT. It's not ETL, it's ELT because we can load data into HANA, right? We can extract from outside, load data into HANA from any system, from any source, and then we can transform after loading into HANA, right? As data comes in, you can transform. You can also cleanse it because we have the data quality, we have rules that can cleanse address, names, and stuff like that. We have synchronization with remote systems. Let's say you have a database that's running on a train, or it's running on a ship, or if you have a remote location, the network is on and off. In those cases, you can connect those databases, remote databases, and synchronize with HANA. It's classic example for some of the IoT scenarios. It's really valuable for many customers, and that's baked into HANA. So the important thing is these 4 things, right? Database, services, application, processing, integration, they're all in one system, okay? Some people ask, okay, I have web server inside HANA. If I want to scale it beyond my database, right? I want to scale it separately. Yes, it is possible. You can take the application services outside and scale it as you like. It's mostly for in a web scenarios, public web scenarios like stores. You want to have many users coming into the system, but you can have that scaled, application server alone scaled, but then you can keep the database reduced scale. So that's the HANA platform. HANA Express Edition is a free version of HANA. You can download into your laptop or PC, Mac, in a VM. It comes inside a VM, and it is free to use up to 32 gigabytes, right? After that, you can easily upgrade to HANA productive versions, but this is a starter version, mainly catered for people who wants to try out HANA in their organization. And if you are an ISV or a company which is trying to build a product, you can use this, actually build the product, and you can run it in customer locations in a bigger machines. So you don't have to buy HANA to build applications on HANA anymore. Okay? You can also use it in production. There are some restrictions. You can't use the VM version of Express Edition for production, but that's limited up to 32 GB memory. Okay? This is the link, sap.com/SAP-HANA-Express. I have some stickers there if you want. At the end, you can take it. Yeah, as I said, you can download it. It's also available in the cloud. When you download, it runs on SUSE and Red Hat. If you want to use a virtual installation, you can have an image of HANA with SUSE VM there. Okay. Deployment options and delivery models. Okay. HANA runs in both cloud as well as on-premise, right? When it comes to cloud, we have categorized into 3 buckets, right? The first one is public cloud. You can go to AWS or Azure or other company cloud websites. We have this version of HANA 1. That means you pay your machine as well as your license in a subscription fashion, right? The next option is HANA on IaaS. That means you have to have your own HANA license. You can just buy the infrastructure as a machine from AWS or any place, and you can run your own HANA there. It's very popular, so you don't have to buy the HANA local machines. It's a lot of customers use it. HANA Enterprise Cloud is a private managed cloud. If you're a big SAP customer, you want to run your SAP applications on HANA, you can run it on Enterprise Cloud. That allows you to manage your entire HANA instance and application instance all by SAP, right? That's the managed cloud. The platform as a service is a public cloud. We have HANA Cloud Platform, HCP, for the folks who know. It's a public cloud where you can build applications, but it also includes HANA for storing, data store. It's a DBaaS, for the folks who know. It's database platform as a service, right? It's also available there, but it's beyond, it's more than database platform as a service. HCP is more than that. It got a lot of services for mobile, for integration, API management, many of them. So those are the cloud choices if you want to go with HANA. When it comes to appliance or on-premise, we have basically 2 options. One is an appliance, another one is a TDI. When we started with HANA, actually it's 5 years already, we started with an appliance model. That means you go buy an appliance from one of the vendors. Many of them are certified, and they install everything for you, and you can run HANA there. The tailored data center is something we started in 2013. The main reason for TDI, introducing TDI, is some customers want to build their own systems. They want to reuse some of their storage, network, components they already have in-house. Now you can do it. You can actually get a certified consultant and procure all the elements of your system, and you can build your own. There are a couple of advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage with HANA appliance is it's all in one box delivered by a company. It's a fast start. If you're a company, want to get started quickly, HANA appliance is fast start. Not so good thing, or one of the disadvantages is it costs a little bit more because you have to work with a vendor who is providing everything. They provide all the service, and then that's what you pay for, right? If you go with TDI option, the advantage here is you can build your server as you like. You can add your components as you like. But then the challenge is you need to work on support, right? You need to work with the storage vendor for storage support. You need to work with network vendor for network support. So this is a plus and minus, but both are very popular, and some customers prefer TDI, some customers prefer appliance. It's your choice, right? At SAP, we have no preference. It's based on the customer requirement. These are the appliance vendors on the left. We support, it's 13. Most of them are very well known, right? On the right side is tailored data center integration, and then storage vendors. There are some certifications done for storage, and you can find, once I send the link, you can click on those links, you can get all certified vendors there, okay? Okay. Next thing is, if I want to deploy HANA, now should I go with a virtualization or a multi-tenancy? I said HANA supports multi-tenancy, right? Similar thing is virtualization. You can achieve similar things. But the main advantage with virtualization is in addition to the just virtualization part, you also get some capabilities to move the containers. You can have a lot more capabilities that comes automatically with virtualization. One thing you need to remember is virtualization comes with a hypervisor. If it is a software based, it costs a little bit more. It's a penalty on the performance, right? Not too much, but yeah. Also, it is very important for some customers to use virtualization because they manage their infrastructure using virtualization. So their infrastructure people knows how to manage virtualization. They don't want another bare metal on its own, right? So in those cases, they are happy actually to get that negative performance, but actually go get the advantage in maintenance and operations. The multi-tenancy is something, it's managed by HANA. It's really secured because your HANA is actually managing system resources for you, right? An advantage is, unlike virtualization, you can actually, you don't have a overhead, right? It's the same binaries, there is no hypervisor there. It's much more, from the performance side, efficient, right? You use hardware and software resources better. But actually, some people see this is a competing offers, right? It's more of a complementary. You can use multi-tenancy on top of virtualized machines if you want to. It's not actually competing from SAP point of view. It's a choice we give to customers, whatever they want. These are the hardware partitioning. If you know virtualization, we have hardware and software. The hardware partitioning is supported for Fujitsu, Hitachi, HP, IBM Power, Lenovo, the LPARs and stuff. From the software virtualization, we have VMware, vSphere, and Huawei Fusion Sphere. Yeah, both are software and certified. And they are certified for production use. That's important, right? It's not just for test. We used to support VMware only for tests some years back. Not anymore. There's no restrictions there. When it comes to multi-tenancy, little bit more details here. Basically, it's about managing multiple databases as one unit. There is a strong separation of data, resources, and users among these tenants. The biggest benefit is you reduce your capital expenditure because you utilize your system resources better. There is no overhead in the hardware. If you are a customer who need to run 2 applications and you don't want to mess up each application, you are preferring to have one single box for each one. Now you can actually use one box for both, because you can actually separate resources, separate users, extremely secure. And it's also easy to manage because when you have 2 machines, right, 2 database instances, when you want to upgrade, you have to upgrade both. Now you have one-time upgrade, you can manage all of them, right, upgrade all of them. The picture here shows how that actually looks. When it is in execution in the scale-up scenario, you have single node, there is a system tenant, and there are a bunch of tenant databases. In a scale-out node, you have one active system tenant, there are a bunch of standby tenants. You can also have a standby node. This is very important. Your tenant size is not limited by the node size, right? If I have a node with 1 terabyte, right, and I have 3 nodes, right, 3 terabyte, you are not restricted to stay at 1 terabyte. You can have almost 2 terabytes or 3 terabytes, right? Tenants can go across nodes, physical nodes I'm talking about in scale-out scenario. Okay, so these are some details on differences. You can see multi-tenancy, hardware partitioning, software virtualization compared. The strategy for multi-tenancy is it gives you best performance. In a hardware and virtualization, there is some layer in the middle. Performance overhead is very low. In multi-tenancy, you can see medium and high. Relative to, it's not high as high, but when you compare with MDC, multi-tenancy, it is a little bit higher. You have hardware resource management, it's maintained by HANA internal in multi-tenancy. We call it multi-tenant database containers, it's our multi-tenancy. And then there is a firmware in the hardware partitioning. Workload management is at application level. By the way, it's very important to know in HANA, we have workload management. It's very powerful. You can actually build classes and assign, for example, users to a class, and you can allocate resources to the class. For example, you say these users who are VIPs, they need to get all the power, right? Let's say maximum power for them. You can do that. And you see that some users are mostly analytic users. You can reduce and you can change them anytime. You have some transactional users. Actually, you can change the system allocation at any time with the workload class. It's really good. Yeah, we have workload management at application level. This is at OS level. Isolation at OS level. Binary, you can see there are a lot of. There is maximum instance size with multi-tenancy. There is no limit. It's your size of your machine, but with hardware partitioning and software virtualization, there are some limits there. Okay. Entry-level systems and some cost-optimized software. Okay. We used to only run HANA on E7 machines and bigger ones. We have now certified this entry-level Xeon E5 processor. This is a little bit less. Okay, take with a grain of salt. We say it starts at 10K, right? It's a little bit. We won't actually tell how much server costs, but an entry-level server, it costs around 10K. It starts at 768 GB. Yeah, you can see all the details. To get started with an entry level, it's a tailored data center integration. That means you can build your own machine with E5 processor. There is a quick sizing tool. Then there is a checklist you need to go through in SEN, and you can get started. It's very easy to get started. You build your own machine for cheap here. Just procure initial stuff. There is a entry-level system certified too. So there is a link where you can actually see that. Okay, so that's the one. And cost-optimized non-production systems. Okay. The biggest thing is the memory requirement is a little bit relaxed here. It's 128 GB of RAM, and yeah, you can see different configurations here. Westmere, Ivy Bridge, Haswell, Broadwell, these are all the supported processors from Intel. IBM Power 7 is also certified. It supports SUSE, and it also runs virtualized and bare metal. These are little low-end configurations if you want to go with. This is for non-production. Scale up and scale out. Okay. Our recommendation is go with scale up unless you can't do it, right? Or you have a different reason for going into scale out. The rationale is with scale up, it's much more efficient. It's one server, you have one place to update, and hosting is also easy. With scale out, you get some flexibility, but there is, of course, our preference is go with scale up when you have a choice, right? We have a scale up nodes up to 20 terabyte certified. We have customers actually using 46 terabyte scale up node, single node of 46 terabyte. I'm not sure if it's already production, but they're close to production. It's there. It's not a limitation from HANA side that we can't use more memory. As systems get built with more memory, we can certify them. It's no limit from the scale out side. I am sure there are many customers using many nodes in systems, but I think there are around 1,000 nodes. I don't know. Do you know any number on?
We had now a lab playing with several hundreds now. Productive is the biggest one, 72 today.
72 today, yeah. Scale out node,
So
yeah.
Not test or really what is running.
Production. Again, in the scale out scenario, There are no limits from SAP side. It's actually, there is a basic problem. Customers need, the partners need to get those machines and certify them, right, in a physical way. It's not easy. So if you are a customer who wants more than the certified nodes currently available in the system, then you can get certified at your location. So there is no restriction as such from HANA point of view. That's what I want to make it clear. From our side, we can scale up as much as you can get. We can scale out as much as you want. Right? It's a matter of certifying. You can go to our hardware certification directory. You can see current certified, scale up and scale out. Okay, HADR. Okay. The main message here is there is this cost optimized and performance. The main message is HANA supports multiple HADR strategies, right? If you are a customer who says, I want to have no failover time, very little failover time, right? I say immediate, almost immediate. Then we have a choice, especially for transactional applications. We don't want a failover more than few minutes, right? In those cases, we have a system replication option, synchronous you can do, loaded into memory. You can go with that option. That is called performance optimized option. That means you get maximum performance. It's not cost optimized because you're making a secondary system wait for primary to fail, and it's fully loaded. You're not using it for anything, right? That's the performance optimized. Now with HANA 2, we have this active-active read-only feature where you have primary can be used for both transactions and analytics, right? And secondary, you can use it for read-only analytics, right? Because both are synchronized all the time. You can have some workload addressed by the secondary node. That's the performance optimized. We have it with the system replication synchronous. Right? The cost optimized comes with a couple of options. Cost optimized, you use it mainly when you are using HANA for data warehousing or data marts, where you can afford to have, let's say, a half an hour downtime. Right? When primary goes down, it's okay for people to wait for half an hour. It's just reports, not a problem. Some cases, it works. In these cases, we have multiple options. One is you can do still system replication, right? As you put data into primary, it gets replicated into secondary in synchronous mode, but you don't have to load data into memory. What that will give you is you can use the secondary system for dev and test. That's one option. If you do a storage mirroring, nothing gets into memory, you only do the storage replication, then it's little bit slow because you have to start the system. You can use the secondary system for dev and test purposes, right? QA, you can use that. So that's the cost optimized version of it. It's really important to know that there is no one size fit for HANA customers, so we have an options that allows you to do the right thing for your own business requirement. Right? So here is a slide that gives you a little bit more details. The way to read it is the failover here, right? When there are two concepts called RPO and RTO, right? The RPO is recovery period objective. It's a data loss you could get. The RTO is more of recovery time objective, the time it takes to get back and start. In a scenario where there is a failure, you can see from the left side the big arrow down. It just shows the time you take the backup or you synchronize, and then when there is a failure, that's the data loss you might get, right? You can optimize it to take more frequent backups and synchronize primary to secondary. You can reduce that RPO factor. RTO is time to take over. You can reduce it if you use the system replication with synchronous mode. So here you see the backup and recovery. If you just do storage backup and recoveries, it's very low cost, but high RPO and high RTO. And then if you go to host auto failover is inside a scale out system, right? You have multiple nodes. If one node fails, we can automatically fail over to the standby node. That's the host auto failover. It's not a DR scenario, it's more of HA in a scale out. So yeah, it's also not that expensive. There is no RPO, zero data loss, because your primary goes, one of your node goes inside the primary, and the secondary node automatically picks up and goes. No data loss there. And then the storage replication, I said before, it's also more of a DR solution. You might lose some data, but you can do some synchronous storage there. System replication is the most high-end solution. A little bit more expensive, but you get very little data loss. You get very little recovery time. Right? We actually asked some customers who is using in production the system replication. They said few minutes, not more than that. It's only getting better. Every release we have a new SP. With HANA 2 we have SP0, SP1, SP2 that's going to come. Yeah, it's going to get better. Yeah, as I said, even in system replication mode, you can use the secondary. System replication is when you insert data, you are automatically writing into the secondary. Storage replication is you take the data from the disk or the logs and disk files and you move it to another system. When a system replication, you can also use it for dev and queue. It's important to know. Okay? Yeah, these are some of the links. Once you have slides, you can go there. Yeah, Forrester, in 2015, they did a wave on in-memory. And HANA, that's on the top right leader quadrant. As you know, there are many database companies now. They also have in-memory solutions, right? In-memory option. They bundle it with an existing database as an additional option. Some of them use row in-memory, some of them use columnar in-memory. But this is a wave that ranks in-memory database platforms, right? We were ranked highest, and some of the scores are 5 out of 5 for vision, data management features, transaction capabilities, and execution. Yeah, you can see all that stuff. Another research we did recently, very recently, actually last month. This is SAP sponsored research, right? We talked to 10 customers. IDC did the research. What they did is they tried to calculate the business value of innovating with HANA. Here, customer using SAP and custom applications are considered in this study, and it's done globally, right? The average company size varies. There are some very small ones that are extremely big. We took customers from US, Germany, France, China, Mexico. It's a global study, so to say. What they found is you get 575% ROI in 5 years period. If you go into concrete numbers, you get 19.27 million on average benefit. It's not just the profit you get, it's also the savings, it's also increased profits, a lot of things all combined as or IT benefits, application development benefits, business value. So that is calculated around 19.27 million and with an investment of 2.41 million over a year, over 5 years, right? Every year you spend 2.4 million and you get around 19 million for the next 5 years. That's really significant. This is an interesting thing. The 52 million higher revenue per organization, what they found is when they start using HANA, they actually see new ways of getting revenue. How can this possible? Because as I said, you can do both transactions analytics on same data. That means you can do real-time analytics on live transactional data. That means when you see the opportunity, you can actually act on it. In an olden way, you have the analytics system that's only talking about yesterday's data. By the time you get the information, by the time you act, it's already late, right? That's why it is important to know it's not just the savings from hardware side, reduced DBA, reduced application development. It's also the new opportunities you could only get with HANA because you can do both transactions analytics in one system. And there is a 40% productivity for 1/3 almost of users. There is a 23% for application development team. It's very important, this application development thing is because you have one machine, right, where you can do applications as well as database parts, right? That's why we call it a platform. It's much easy for developers to build. They don't have to install another system, right? It's all in one. And also the tools we provide inside HANA that makes it easy to build applications, makes it easy to build backend logic. So it's much more efficient. That's why they see a productive gain for app dev teams. There is a 29% efficiency for database management. It's significant because in olden RDBMS systems, majority of the DBAs are busy allocating disk space so that it's faster, right? Or if some user wants, let's say I want a new report, I want this report fast, then they need to build the index and they need to see if that impacts others, right? Even with some in-memory options, what you need to do is you need to see what happens if I move this into memory, right? You need to figure out, is it worth duplicating? Is it better to do an indexing? There are a lot of things they need to consider. With HANA, you don't have that problem because it's a columnar store. Every column works like an index. It's extremely fast. That's why the effort they were putting in managing the data in the disk is significantly reduced, right? The savings companies, they use it to provision new systems, support new applications, rather than support the old ones that are getting slow day by day, right? As data increase, they get slow, usually not a problem with SAP. That's why there is a little more efficiency. There is a link, sap.com/innovate with HANA. There you can get a link to the IDC paper that I showed. It's a very interesting study. Please, it also gets really detailed numbers, how they could find the ROI. It's a really interesting study to read. That's it from my side. Any questions? All clear? Yeah.
I had a question about TDI, and I noticed on the slide you had, in addition to a processor vendor, and you had the operating system vendor, you also had storage vendors, but I didn't see a slide for network vendors, but yet you are able to choose your own network in TDI, aren't you?
Yeah, of course you can choose. That's a really good question. For network, it's not a certified vendor. It's the configuration that SAP certified. So as long as your network provider meets that configuration, right, like the speed and that band, whatever that configurations are, then you are okay to use.
So it's performance and protocols. You don't have to say this is an SAP certified
vendor. Right. Right.
Okay.
Right. That's the difference. Yeah. That's a really good question. Actually, I had the same question, where are these network? They said this, they did it in a phase-by-phase manner. First they certified storage, then they certified network. My question was also, where are those people, right? They say it's just the configuration. As long as they meet the configuration, they're okay. Really good question. Any other question?
For the HA part, we could consider what SUSE has embedded as HA for SAP HANA solution?
Yeah, I'll try, and I have my colleague who is expert in those areas. One thing is SUSE cluster manager can be used when you want to fail over from primary to secondary. But the most important I want to tell, and maybe we can go to details, is if you are running your SAP applications, right? When you are going from primary to secondary, right? ABAP applications specifically. With the SUSE cluster, when you fail over, your applications don't even abort, right? They don't even break. They run as is. They transition to the secondary as if nothing happened. It gets slow, but it maintains that. It's called DBSL layer that handles in the NetWeaver app layer. But actual way of SUSE cluster, maybe you can.
Then the DBSL layer, we do a transparent reconnect. So if a transaction is running, we recognize data is gone, and it appears, okay, the SUSE pacemaker-based technology is taking over the virtual IP. We do reconnect, restart the SQL statement again, so the transaction on top of the other layer will not break. So for the end user, it doesn't have to log in. Normally, if the transaction breaks, sub-GUI is going away, and then you have to log in again, and the experience for the end user would be, I have to connect again. This is, transparent. For the HA, let's say we are providing the basics, so we are providing system applications, so the two sides are, let's say, in sync, and you can work on it. The field of taking over from one side to another to automate this is part of the cluster providers like SUSE building this with SUSE HA. So you can have a kind of high availability in a manual manner. And you do not use SUSE, or that you have the need to use SUSE HA. If the site breaks, you as administrator can say take over, and then it's switching, but then you have a certain downtime because it's up to the administrator how fast he's typing in, take over. So, and most of the customers want to have a kind of automation, and then comes SUSE HA in play. Technology is pacemaker and is taking over the virtual IP address, is breaking up the master and the slave, making the slave to a master, and then open up the database, and you can rerun it, reuse it in a productive environment and in your secondary slide. Of course, synchronously, if the distance is small enough, if the distance are bigger, and we are talking about 200 miles or something like this, of course, then it's not synchronous anymore. Then you have to support this asynchronously, because you have to understand the latency between the sides. So you cannot go around the world synchronously. So this depends where your data center is. You have to configure this kind of replication methods which are there.
Any other questions? Maybe I have a different question. How many of you are already using HANA in your landscapes? Okay. Are you using it for runtime for SAP applications or building custom apps? SAP applications. Yeah, it's that's the most used scenario, right? HANA is mainly used today for BW and Business Suite areas for HANA. Okay. It's very important for especially these installations is what you get is a runtime license, right? You can use it to run your SAP applications with the runtime license, little less version. And to get to use these processing capabilities, right? And build your own custom applications, you need a full use license of HANA, which is a little bit more expensive. And that's one of the main reasons why we introduced Express Edition. If you are a runtime HANA user with SAP applications, you should definitely consider this version, which is Express free of cost. You just need 16 GB RAM to start with. It can go up to 32 GB. That allows developers to leverage these applications, these capabilities, and build your applications. The advantage is when we build this HANA system, it was not just to run SAP applications, right? Once you have all your transactional data in your system, we want customers to use this data and build your own custom analytics, custom advanced applications, spatial applications, natural language processing. You can also bring in custom data from outside, right? From Twitter feeds, for example, combined with your transactional data. For example, this is a classic example I give is, let's say you are maintaining products and orders and transactional information in your ERP. Let's say somebody is talking about your products in Twitter or in social media. Now what you can do is you can leverage the text analytics of HANA and you can understand what they are talking about. Then you can alert in real time to your business user who is responsible for that products, right? So the main problem is if I am using HANA for runtime and SAP application, I don't want to disturb that, right? I want to run it mainly for SAP, right? Production live systems, and I don't want to mess that system up. So that's the reason why we have HANA Express Edition. You can install it in a separate box and you can run it and build your transactional applications and you take some of the data from your ERP and build your own custom application. I highly encourage you to look at it. It's free. You can also use it in production for a while, right? It's up to 32 GB in certain configurations. You should be able to use in production too. So you can actually roll out your applications in production to some users and see if it is really working before you make a big purchase and get new machines with a higher memory, right? This is the main reason we want to have Express Edition, that you can start building applications, right? So
it's important to know about the HANA Express as well, because we get claimed in the past for our MaxDB, which was only available for our SAP products. Today we have client libraries for Python, for Perl, which you can start developing. Scientist Power Designer is enabled for HANA, so you really can have development tools really to build your own stuff.
and for the folks, you can take some of this here. Yeah, these ones. That's it. That's it from my side. Any questions? No? Thank you for your time.